Arrow Season 7. This is the spoiler review. The mostly non-spoiler review is up on my blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. Try to stay vague on there. You know, there's a couple small details, but if you want to read that first, go ahead. If not, that's up to you. I gave this season, and I'm going with a 3 out of 5. I think give a lot of credit for trying new things, especially being this late in the game. I mean, 7 seasons in is pretty tough to do new stuff. You know, the big change in status quo coming into the season was that Oliver was in prison, and they actually stuck with him in there for, I believe, the first 7 episodes. So a good chunk of the season, he's in prison. They changed the intro. You know, instead of him being introduced as Green Arrow, he's introduced by his inmate number. Just little things like that, nice little twist to show it's not the same show you've been watching. I really like that since the cast has been growing, you know, constantly over the years. I mean, people do come and go, but there's always a lot of extra cast members. I like that everybody found something new to do while Oliver was in prison. Some weren't as exciting, like, you know, Felicity being under like a witness protection plan, but especially the fact that the Vigilantes have been banned, it was cool seeing, you know, Dinah's becoming the new captain of the Star City Police. Diggle going back to Argus, taking Mr. Terrific with him. You still got Renee still trying to be a vigilante. But this is just everybody was kind of doing something different. They all had their own little things going on, and they did overlap a little bit, especially with, you know, the whole Diaz problem. But I think for the most part, it just felt like they gave them all something unique to do, especially in the early part of the season. And that does kind of get into my one gripe, is that, you know, Diaz was introduced late last season as the main villain, and we're stuck with him again this time. I mean, he's still dangerous, but it just wasn't the same. He was so calculating, and just see to cover every angle over Team Arrow, where they just could not seem to get past him. You know, he's seen the thought of everything. Now he's a little more aggressive and not as, like, well thought out. I mean, he still had his master plans. He still had the longbow hunters, which were just corny. And basically, his story arc ended when Ollie gets out of prison. Then we move on to the next arc, which takes a little while to get there, but basically Oliver's brought in to the fold for the police department, and he becomes deputized. So Arrow's like basically like a glorified cop, I guess. But again, it's a nice different twist. He's not working within the law. He's out there without a mask on. Curtis is still with Argus. As I say, Argus starts doing their own thing, which seems a little weird. Seems a little like unrelated to the plot until you realize that Dante's apparently being set up as the big bad once he's finally introduced. And again, the second half of the season, things I think start going back to status quo. Even though everyone's basically working with the police department, eventually it's still basically Team Arrow out doing their thing. They're just getting a little friction from the police, which they got anyways previously. It's just now they're talking to the cops directly. I think that's where I think the season stumbles a little bit. It's like, okay, we're back to how it normally is. The other thing is the introduction of Emiko Queen, Oliver's secret half-sister, which, again, I don't know much about her character. I have read that she's actually based on Thea Queen, because Thea on the show was a brand new character, and the writers of the comics thought it'd be cool if Oliver had a half-sister, so Emiko was introduced. So basically, she swaps out Thea, who's left the show. Again, very obvious. I can't imagine that was not a male stunt double doing the early new Green Arrow scenes, and then it's revealed later on that it's actually a woman. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have to go back and watch them and it's really a woman in that costume, but just seemed like it was misleading. It made you definitely think it was a guy, and then it turned out not only be the girl, but immediately she drops everything she was doing before. She no longer has a full face covering. She no longer disguises her voice like she was doing. It's kind of silly in a way. It's like, all right, just because one guy knows and the audience knows who you are, she would just stop, you know, trying to keep her secret from everybody else. Again, pretty interesting arc with her, basically being the main bad guy in the end. They went back and forth on a redemption arc with her, you know, first with Renee, then later with Oliver. And just the things she did. I mean, I know Black Siren was evil at one point. There's been other characters that were evil, but they were never really like mass murderers. And she mass murdered some people. She wiped out good handful of people with a pretty nasty virus and would have taken out more if she wasn't stopped. So I think the best resolution is what they did with her and having her die off. Again, if she has a really cool dynamic with Oliver in the comics, I don't know. I guess we're never going to see that happen, but it's really irrelevant because we all know, or we don't know, you're learning now, which is kind of weird to be watching this, but next season is the final season for Arrow, and it's only 10 episodes, so you really kind of got to wrap it up. I mean, yeah, the show went on without Oliver. You could have maybe did it where Emiko was the new Green Arrow, but I don't think she really had the charisma for it, and I think her storyline seemed like it was pretty set in stone. But, I mean, obviously they could have still tweaked it. They really didn't introduce a ton of new characters this season. A lot of it, in fact, we've seen the reappearance of a lot of classic characters, if you want to call them classic. Anything from Stardust to, his character wasn't Stardust, but he's Cody Rhodes, to Bronze Tiger, to Roy Harper, especially the show's 150th episode. You know, they found a lot of ways of working characters from previous seasons. We got the Tommy Merlin thing late, even though it was corny. Some weird hallucination Oliver had for whatever reason, just to work him in there. But the other big thing about this season was the flashbacks are gone, and in a really cool twist, they were replaced with flash forwards, where we see an adult William, and eventually Oliver and Felicity's daughter teaming up with what's left of the vigilantes, and that. A lot of mystery. Obviously, this is the future. You don't know what's going on, so it was really intriguing. They get to this big finale where they have an entire episode devoted to this story. And it kind of felt like it ran its course, and I would have actually been okay with not seeing anything else. But then it comes back, and the story just kind of limps. It doesn't seem like it has a strong direction. Like we get a lot with the flashback sequences. You just get such small portions of the story. It's just not enough necessary to keep it going, keep the interest. The finale's okay. I mean, it seems like I said, they could have actually tweaked it and been done with it sooner, but you know, I guess I could live with it. And then, of course, everything just building towards everything's building to what a lot of people speculate is that Oliver won't survive season 8, and the show tells us that he basically dies, but obviously there's always ways around it. You know, we'll see if there's any kind of twist. Especially with the Arrowverse, there's always a way for a character to come back, whether it's time travel or an alternate version, or however they choose to do it. Actually, I really don't have a ton to say about the show. I think, aside from the early scenes in the first 8 episodes where they really flipped the show on its head, it basically went back to the status quo, and there's not a ton else I got to say about the show on a whole. I will go through my notes real quick, look at some individual episodes, see if anything jumps out at me that I think is worth mentioning. Kind of a mixed feelings on the Felicity arc, where basically for her safety she decided she needed to murder Diaz. Obviously a few characters have killed in this show, especially Oliver. I think Felicity, it's like definitely a bigger deal. I wasn't sure. She got pretty ruthless about it, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. And then it fairly got washed away pretty quickly too. Kind of getting brushed off. So it didn't really have any lasting impact, which I think hurts it even more. I don't think they fully tapped the potential of Curtis being at Argus. They had some fun stuff. There was the episode where he goes undercover. Him finding an alternative to putting bombs in people's heads for their Suicide Squad, which for some reason they can't call it Suicide Squad anymore. But then he just kind of fizzled out of it, and then he just left the show altogether. So I just thought that was a waste. I thought Mr. Terrific never really got the shine the way he should have. It just in his entire course of the series. This whole Black Siren redemption arc was just kind of odd. I mean, I think overall it worked, but just she was pretty evil to start off with, and she flat out murdered Vigilante. Like I said, and it made sense that Dinah just could never really trust her. She just never really forgave her. And I think that was a good call to keep that going. And even then, like, nobody trusted her. I liked it. You know, she really was trying, but they all had reason not to. So I think it was actually pretty successful that the way they did the story. I just thought it was kind of pointless to bring in an evil version of Laurel, and then have her, you know, just basically become a good guy with a slight edge to her. It was a little spread out a bit, but it was a decent character arc for Bronze Tiger as he redeems himself. Final episode shows up and helps the team. I guess we'll find out next season how his son ends up getting adopted by Diggle. I'm assuming that he dies a hero and Diggle takes his son. Of course, the crossover this season, really, really good. Really liked how they redid basically the prison intro sequences, but since Barry was Ollie now, you know, we have Barry Allen in his place as, you know, Oliver. We got to see Batwoman, which was okay. I mean, didn't get to see a ton out of her. The 150th episode was a little odd. The whole documentary thing seemed a little weird. It seemed like they would never reveal that much information to the public. I know it was just a means to kind of celebrate 150 episodes, but it was okay always. It was a nice little callback to a lot of stuff that we hadn't seen in a while. Got the whole weird stalker thing where first we had thought the stalker was this guy from Earth 2, but he was just that guy who had nothing to do with anything. Then there was a second stalker, but it was just some weird guy collecting superhero masks. And then the final, I guess, stalker turned out to be Stanley from prison, who had a fantastic acting moment. That when he confronts Oliver in his house, he's just so unhinged. It's like really well done. And then of course Oliver just happens to get his strength back in time to like knock him out. And there's a lot of that. I'm sure I have a specific episode pointed out, but I'll mention it now. Oliver always seemed to have just the right arrow for just the right time. You know, you need a fire arrow, you need an explosive arrow, you need freeze arrows. Oliver always just seemed to have those, and you know, just enough of them to do whatever he needed to do, which was overly convenient. Especially I don't think we've ever seen Oliver with a freeze arrow ever. And then he has to fight these drones in the finale, and it's like, oh yeah, you need freeze arrows, and he happens to have enough to take out all the drones. That once we found out Emiko was evil, that it moved fast. Laurel found out that she murdered Diaz. She pretty quickly told Oliver. Oliver pretty quickly looked into it. You know, it just seemed like it would have got dragged out longer than I thought it did. So I was actually kind of happy with that. We see how ruthless Emiko is, especially knowing the ins and outs of Oliver's team, setting up Black Siren, screwing over Oliver. So it definitely made it personal. Definitely made it kind of scary because she could have taken them down pretty hard and could have killed them all. But again, if they're hinting towards any kind of redemption, I think you know they got to hold back. There's a weird episode where we meet Diggle's stepfather, whose last name is Stewart, which still goes back to the fan theory about Diggle somehow being John Stewart, eventually a Green Lantern. Even Earth 90 Flash wants to know where his ring is. Maybe those final 10 episodes next season, they'll cram something in. We'll see. Another weird thing in the season finale, Emiko got taken down kind of quick. She was supposed to be like on par with Oliver. She took one knife to the gut, which I don't know if that was supposed to be the fatal blow. And I'm assuming the other chick she was fighting had some kind of knife boots, because she kicked her and it sounded like there was like a slashing sound. It really was never made clear on screen. And then somehow she's super strong. She kicked her through a wall, so I don't know what that was all about. And whatever it was enough to kill her. And that's really about it. I don't want to go on and on about the show right now. I think I've done enough. We'll have to see where they go next season. We have the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Are we not going to see Oliver at all? Is it going to be just Oliver and the Monitor? I guess we'll see. Don't even know exactly when the crossover is going to drop. Yeah, they actually advertised it as the fall, so it could be earlier on. They could even do the whole 10 episodes could be the crossover. I think the original Crisis miniseries was 12 issues. So that's really all I got. So thanks for watching.